PBS stands for Positive Behaviour Support, which are strategies for a school-wide framework that encourages positive behaviour and brings together school communities to develop positive, safe and supportive learning cultures. Positive behaviour strategies does not target specific classes or students. It is designed to address the whole school and be enacted by all staff for maximum effect. Evidence suggests that there are some benefits which are more obvious for students on the autism spectrum or for those that exhibit particular behavioural challenges, but improved student behaviour can be seen across the entire student body. This strategy is as effective as it is a tiered approach. The first tier is primary prevention, a support for all students, staff and settings. The second tier, secondary prevention, is additional and specialised group systems for students with potentially at-risk behaviours. The third tier, tertiary prevention, is specialised and individualised systems for students with high-risk behaviours, in addition to primary and secondary prevention. Positive behaviour support strategies refer to the implementation of culturally appropriate interventions and systems that aim to achieve positive behaviours that are designed to be considerate of its impact on society and transgression from potentially disruptive behaviours. The application of this approach includes the adoption of evidence-based practices, the collection of data to identify current effectiveness of intervention strategies, and the implementation of systems that enable staff to sustain practices with accuracy and efficiency. Key features of this approach include to establish a common philosophy and purpose, to establish leadership and a school-wide support, a clearly defined set of expected behaviours, to establish procedures for teaching and practicing expected behaviours, to implement a continuum of procedures to encourage expected behaviours, to develop a continuum of procedures to discourage inappropriate behaviours, using procedures for record keeping, decision making and ongoing monitoring, and supporting staff to use effective classroom practices. Effective implementation of this strategy ensures an increase in respectful and positive behaviour, an increase in time focused on instructions, an improved social emotional well-being across the school, an increase in positive and respectful relationships among students and staff, an increase in the adoption of evidence-based instructional practices, a predictable learning environment with improved perceptions of safety and increased attendance. It is imperative that this approach is implemented on a whole school level, as it would not be effective if only one class or one year level adapted it. By encouraging positive behaviours such as using polite manners, speaking kindly and sharing this with other students, teachers, classrooms, strengthens interactions between students. This is especially necessary in the playground when students face the threat of being bullied by other students or peers. Thank you.
In order to demonstrate how PBS supports student learning needs, their participation and engagement in all classroom activities, as well as to evaluate how it supports academic achievement and learning outcomes, it's important to understand the 10 key principles upon which PBS is founded. Firstly, PBS aims to prevent challenging behaviours. Secondly, it aims to teach students how to behave appropriately across different environments. Thirdly, PBS is a whole school approach designed to create engaging environments for all students. It is a team-based approach which requires a high degree of commitment from school leaders and active involvement of all the school members, including families. PBS is a data-driven approach. The successful implementation of PBS does take a significant amount of time. PBS is based on evidence-based practices. Training of all staff, particularly school leaders and teachers, in implementing the PBS framework is necessary. Partnership with families is crucial to the success of PBS programs. And finally, successful implementation of PBS results in the reduction of aggressive behaviour, improvement in academic areas, and improvement in the school climate. One of the ways in which PBS supports student learning as well as encourages participation and engagement in the classroom is through improved teacher-student relationships. Humbre and Piata, 2001, assert that positive social interactions between teachers and students help strengthen relationships and protect students from future academic failure as well as problem behaviour. Teacher and student interactions also improve students' social competency and their emotional self-regulation. According to Sutherland, Lewis Palmer, Stickton and Morgan, 2008, students who experience low rates of feedback, particularly for negative and inappropriate behaviour, are at significantly greater risk for lower academic outcomes and inappropriate behavioural outcomes. Therefore, increasing the frequency of positive student-teacher interactions is considered to be one of the best methods of improving both academic and behavioural outcomes. Successful implementation of PBS at a school results in improved academic outcomes for several reasons. Horner, Sugai and Anderson, 2010, state that there is an inverse relationship between problem behaviour and academic outcomes. Therefore, a reduction in problem behaviour will increase the academic performance of students. Secondly, because students will be spending less time in the principal's office, suspended or otherwise outside the classroom, they will spend more time within the classroom actively participating and learning with their peers. Implementing PBS does not in itself lead to improved performance in mathematics, literacy, or other disciplines, but because it provides a consistent, unchaotic, positive, and safe school environment, students are more likely to become engaged, and the result of that is improved academic outcomes. PBS is a very effective school strategy for all students, including those with a disability, with autism spectrum disorder, as well as extremely challenging behaviour. Because PBS is based on behavioural theory, it is person-centred and can be especially adapted to each student and their unique situations and learning needs. Clean and Gray's 2012 study showed that students with a disability showed improved quality of life and mental health scores as a result of the PBS program implemented in their schools. Lewiselli, Putnam, Handler and Feinberg, 2005, report improved social skills of students, more positive social interactions, improved communication skills and mental health as a result of the PBS program. They also show a reduction in requests for school counselling sessions as a result of the safe learning environment where expectations are clear and the program is personalised for each student. These results from the successful implementation of the PBS program in schools helps to address student needs and encourage participation and engagement in the classroom. Both quasi-experimental and randomised controlled studies, academic improvement as a result of PBS has been shown. It is important to remember that these studies were taken over 2 to 3 years, which is in accordance with one of the key principles of PBS, that the program takes a significant amount of time to be effective. So it is important when measuring academic improvements that it is taken over a matter of years rather than terms or semesters.
Efficacy and evaluation of positive behaviour support, or PBS as it is commonly known. When evaluating PBS, it is important to remember that it is a flexible framework. In 2009, Strain and Schwartz published a case study that found at Tier 3, students with autism were being treated as unique and individual children, which led to their individual needs being met successfully. This flexibility means that PBS isn't a standalone practice, rather a framework that works with existing practices to support positive behaviour. And this flexibility means that PBS isn't a standalone practice, rather a framework that works with existing practices to support positive behaviour and find solutions for challenging behaviour. This can mean if a practice is a little bit weaker, it may mean that behaviour isn't successfully improved, and this could reflect badly on PBS. But PBS is an ongoing framework that allows practices that are used within it to be reviewed and modified or switched over to other practices that may be more successful. Even though it is a flexible framework, this doesn't mean that there isn't a lot of research that evaluates the effectiveness of PBS. An interesting study of several hundred schools in the South Florida area, mainly primary school, who are running the PBS, found that students being sent to the office for behaviour infractions or receiving in-school detentions, the number of them had dropped. However, the number of students who received out-of-school suspensions, which is for more serious infractions, didn't drop. The other interesting fact from the research, it found that academic performance actually slightly increased, particularly in reading. So this sort of directly addresses some of the teachers' concerns that implementing PBS may affect their time to teach. So overall, this particular research found that behaviour improved and academic performance also improved, although that was more marginal. A 2012 review of the current evidence available to support PBS looked at a large number of case studies and, using a strict criteria, reduced these down to 10 based on the quality of evidence or the quality of research that had been done in these cases. And it found of these 10 studies, 7 of them showed improved behaviour, while the other 3 did not show any detectable improvement in behaviour. Of the 7 that did show improved behaviour, 3 of these showed large improvement in behaviour, while the other 4 showed small to medium improvement in behaviour. So I guess what we can take away from this is that results, evidence does show that there are improvements in behaviour, however these results are inconsistent. And even though we've got this large number of studies done, they don't always indicate why PBS is successful in improving behaviour in this situation as compared to the other situations. So clearly, more research needs to be done. What are teachers saying about PBS? A 2018 Dutch study found that teachers overall felt that PBS was leading to improved student behaviour and improved social interaction with others. However, they did note that the improvements were minimal, although they were more pronounced in students that had more severe behavioural issues. Principal support can be a limiting factor in PBS. PBS isn't implemented just in one classroom or just in one particular case. It's implemented across the entire school. And for it to be implemented across the entire school, it requires strong support from the principal. Whether PBS is just being introduced to the school for the first time or for its ongoing facilitation, the principal does need to lead the way. So studies have found that principals are more likely to strongly support PBS if it's been recommended to them, particularly if in informal recommendations from other principals. And I think this seems like maybe a more authentic recommendation. Obviously, also if the principals have had some good training in PBS, they're more likely to recommend it. And the other factor that may lead them to support PBS is just their personal philosophy, if PBS aligns with that. So while this may seem like a weakness of PBS, any school-wide practice to be successfully implemented really does need the support of the principal. So it's no different than any other school-wide framework or school-wide operation in that sense. Staff confidence. Studies have found that when teachers lack confidence in PBS, they are more likely to break the guidelines or go outside the protocols of PBS, negatively affecting its chance of being successful. Staff gain confidence when they are given good quality training and include refreshers, and also they have expert support from within the school and adequate resources, including time, to ensure that they remain confident in using PBS. In summary, research confirms the effectiveness of PBS. However, this research does not always show significant behavioural improvements. PBS is like an ongoing system that continually evaluates data, modifies practices. So as research continues to be done, maybe the improvements brought about by PBS will become more dramatic. The other thing to consider when evaluating PBS is that it is also, as well as being built on data, it is also built on a philosophy. So if the teaching philosophy is that we want to give every student the chance to learn and treat them with positive support to scaffold improved behaviour rather than punishment for negative behaviour, then this PBS fits within those guidelines. Also, if we can help students learn positive behaviour, it doesn't only benefit the school environment and their chance to academically succeed, it benefits their chance to succeed in life itself, and it's incredibly important. So PBS is definitely worth investing time in.